Have you ever looked at a doctor's note and felt like you needed a secret decoder ring just to figure it out? Yeah, it can really seem like medical language is designed to be confusing. But what if I told you it's not just a random bunch of long, scary words, but actually a surprisingly simple and, believe it or not, logical system? Well, today, we're going to pull back that curtain and crack the code together. Let's jump in.
Okay, let's just start with this monster right here. Otorhinolaryngologist. Whoa, it's pretty intimidating, right? It kind of looks like a cat just walked across a keyboard. It feels like a secret code for sure.
And you know what? In a way, it is a code. But here's the amazing part. The key to cracking it is incredibly simple. By the end of this explainer, you are going to have that key, and you'll be able to break down not just this word, but pretty much any medical term that comes your way.
So, here's how we're going to do it. First, we'll talk about decoding the jargon in general. Then we'll look at each piece of the puzzle. The core word roots, the prefixes that give direction, and the suffixes that tell us the action. Then we'll come back and crack our mystery word. And finally, we'll see how this all works in the real world.
All right, Section 1, Decoding Medical Jargon. So, the big secret here is that these long words, they aren't meant to be read as one giant block. A much better way to think of them is like they're built from Legos. You know, smaller, interchangeable parts that just snap together. Once you learn what a few of the basic bricks mean, you can figure out almost any structure you see.
So why is this system so consistent? Well, it's because these terms aren't new. They're ancient. Most of them are built from Greek and Latin roots. And what that does is create a universal language for medicine. So once you learn the rules, they apply almost everywhere. It's pretty cool. And this entire system, this whole code, is built on just 3 key parts. First, you have the word root, that's the heart of the word, its core meaning. Then you've got the prefix, which snaps onto the beginning and gives it direction or quantity. And finally, the suffix, which tacks onto the end and tells you the action or the condition. I mean, think about a simple word like remake. Make is the root, re is the prefix. Medical terms work the exact same way. Root, prefix, suffix. That's the whole toolkit.
So let's start with the most important piece of the puzzle, the word root. This is the foundation, the absolute core of pretty much every single medical term.
Now, a word root carries that main meaning. But here's the catch. It can't stand on its own. It's not a complete word. So, for example, take the root gaster. We know that refers to the stomach. But gaster isn't a word you just use in a sentence. It needs other parts, like a suffix, to become a full term, like gastroscopy, which means taking a look inside the stomach.
Here are a few super common roots you will see everywhere. Cardio for heart, gastro for stomach, and rhino for nose. And see that little O at the end? Don't let it throw you. Just think of it as a connector, like a piece of linguistic glue that helps all the parts of the word flow together a little more smoothly. You'll see it all the time.
Okay, next up, let's talk prefixes. These are the little parts that attach to the very front of a word root, and they act like signposts, right? They give you crucial context, like direction or how much or where something is.
And prefixes are seriously powerful. Check this out. You have hyper, which means excessive, and hypo, meaning less than normal. It's just one letter difference. But add them to the root for pressure, which is tension, and you get hypertension, that's dangerously high blood pressure, or hypotension, which is low blood pressure. That one single letter can mean the difference between 2 completely opposite conditions. That's the power of the prefix.
All right, let's move on to our final building block, the suffix. This is the piece that comes at the very end of the term, and it's the part that tells you what's actually happening. Is it a procedure, a condition, a disease? The suffix gives you the action.
And because suffixes define the action, getting them right is absolutely critical. For instance, ectomy means to remove something completely, whereas tomy just means to cut into it. So a gastrectomy is the complete removal of the stomach. A gastrotomy is just an incision made into the stomach. I mean, that is a life-altering difference, and it all comes down to a few letters at the end of the word.
Okay, we've got our tools, we know about roots, we know about prefixes, we know about suffixes, so now, let's go back to that original puzzle and put all this knowledge to work. All right, here it is again, otorhinolaryngologist. But look at it now. It's not so scary, is it? You can probably already see the different parts, right? The little Lego bricks we've been talking about, just waiting to be snapped apart. Let's break it down piece by piece. We start with OT/O. That means ear.
Then we have rhino/o. Remember that one? That means nose. Next up is laryngo/o for the larynx, the voice box. And finally, that suffix, logist, which just means a specialist. So, put it all together. What do we have? A specialist of the ear, the nose, and the larynx. It's an ENT doctor. That's it. See, the code is cracked.
So, okay, that was a fun little puzzle, but why does any of this actually matter? Well, because this code-breaking skill isn't just for showing off with long words. It is so important for understanding the fundamental concepts you hear in any doctor's office. The concepts that can directly affect your health.
Take the words sign and symptom. You hear people use them interchangeably all the time, but they mean very different things. A sign is objective evidence. It's something a doctor can actually see or measure, like a fever or a rash. A symptom is subjective. It's what you, the patient, feel and have to describe, like a headache or nausea. One is observed, the other is experienced. Big difference.
Or what about diagnosis versus prognosis? The difference is literally right there in the prefix. The prefix dia means complete, so a diagnosis is the complete knowledge of what's wrong with you right now. But the prefix pro means before, so a prognosis is before knowledge. It's a prediction of what's likely to happen in the future. See, the code is everywhere, just hiding in plain sight.
So, it turns out the language of medicine isn't really about memorizing thousands of random words. It's about learning a simple system of building blocks. Now that you have the keys to the code, you really have the power to understand the language of your own health. So the only question left is, what medical mysteries will you unlock next?